They called her the Bloody Queen. In the heart of the Indian Ocean, on an island known for its beauty and biodiversity, one woman would reign with such brutality that even the most savage tyrants in history seemed tame in comparison. Her name. A chilling whisper carried by the winds of Madagascar, Ranavalona, the queen who halved a nation and turned paradise into a living nightmare. In 1828, deep within the royal palace of Antananarivo, a sinister ritual unfolded. A 46-year-old woman, her gaze cold and resolute, knelt beneath the spilling blood of a freshly sacrificed bull. The priests sang ancestral hymns, their voices trembling with power. That blood sealed her rule. A reign so violent, so unforgiving, it became known as the Years of Darkness. She was born Ramavo, a commoner around 1788. Her fate changed the day her father exposed a plot to kill King Andriana Marina. The king, in gratitude, adopted her and arranged her marriage to his son, Radama. But this was no fairy tale. Radama had 12 wives. Ramavo was never the favorite. Worse, he ordered the execution of her close relatives. Resentment took root, and it would one day bear blood-soaked fruit. Radama was seen as progressive. He expanded the Marina kingdom, unified Madagascar, welcomed missionaries, forged ties with Britain, and promoted Western education. But to many, including Ramavo, this openness was betrayal. While Radama opened the gates, she sharpened knives, aligning herself with military and spiritual traditionalists in secret. When Radama died, the throne was meant for his nephew, Rakotobi. But Ramavo moved swiftly. Before the king's death was even public, she summoned troops from her hometown, stormed the palace, and crowned herself queen. Supporters of the rightful heir had a grim choice: submit or die. In a matter of hours, opposition was silenced, permanently. Rakotobi and his parents were executed. Blood flowed through the palace halls. Only a handful of nobles survived. A common-born woman had seized the crown, shattering sacred custom. But if her rise was violent, her rule would descend into full-scale horror. Ranavalona loathed all foreign influence. Sovereignty to her meant total isolation. In 1835, after surviving an unexplained illness, which she credited to the power of Madagascar's 12 sacred talismans, the Sampi, she banned Christianity entirely. The penalty for worship: death. What followed was a campaign of persecution on a biblical scale. Christians were hunted, tortured, and slaughtered. Some were hurled from cliffs, others boiled alive. Crucifixion was common, a bitter mockery of their faith. In one day alone, 14 Christians were executed publicly. Missionaries fled the island in fear, and Ranavalona mocked their escape. See how your leaders abandon you. Your gods have no power here. Her most feared method of punishment was the Tangena ordeal. Suspects were forced to swallow poison mixed with 3 slivers of chicken skin. If they vomited all 3, they were innocent. If not, they died in agony. Between 5,000 and 10,000 people were subjected to this every year. Even the dead weren't spared. Corpses underwent the ordeal, and when they couldn't vomit, the crown seized their possessions. Though Tangena had roots in Malagasy tradition, Ranavalona weaponized it into mass terror. Victims were starved beforehand. Priests sang grim chants as they prepared the toxic brew. One of her most shocking victims, a high-ranking officer named Adriana Mijaja, her former lover, and possibly the father of her child. When he was seen with another woman, she demanded he undergo the ordeal. He refused. Calmly, he directed the executioner where to plunge the spear into his neck. Foreign enemies fared no better. In 1849, when the French attempted an invasion, Her troops crushed them. 21 captured soldiers were decapitated. Their heads were mounted on stakes along the coast, a gruesome warning to any who dared challenge her. This victory fueled her belief in divine invincibility and deepened her descent into madness. Her tyranny didn't stop at executions. She replaced taxes with forced labor. Men, women, even children were conscripted, often dragged from their homes with no warning. Thousands were sent to build roads, carry supplies, or bear her royal palanquin. Many never returned. Some were abandoned to die once they collapsed. Pregnant women labored until birth, sometimes alone in the dirt. Dead bodies lined the roads. One of her grandest and deadliest projects was a mountain summer palace. Over 50,000 workers were forced to haul giant stones without tools. At least 10,000 died. When told of the death toll, Ranavalona reportedly said, "Stone and lime mix better with blood. The palace will last longer." She visited the site only 3 times, complaining the weather was too cold. Her army, 20,000 to 30,000 strong, regularly marched on rebellious regions. Entire villages were razed, survivors enslaved, soldiers committed atrocities too horrific to imagine. Children beheaded before their parents, pregnant women disemboweled so soldiers could bet on the baby's gender, men burned alive in their huts. As she aged, her paranoia exploded. A strange dream, a long stare, a stumble in her presence. Any of it could mean death. She believed clouds were omens of dark magic and executed dozens accused of cloud sorcery. She banned the color purple, ordering people to burn any clothing or even flowers of that shade. Oddly, despite hating Western religion and politics, she admired aspects of European culture. She forced her court to wear French fashions, kept a broken piano as decoration. She was fascinated by soap, learned its recipe from missionaries, banned Christianity, but kept public baths. A few Europeans remained at court. The most famous was Jean Laborde, a French engineer who shipwrecked in 1832. Instead of killing him, she made him her chief industrial advisor. Under his guidance, Madagascar built factories for weapons and textiles. But without foreign trade, the economy collapsed. She turned to slavery. War captives were sold abroad. When that wasn't enough, she enslaved her own people, even villagers from the Marina heartland. Families were torn apart. Conditions during transport were so horrific, many died before reaching foreign shores. Her only son, Prince Rakoto, later Radama II, was shaped by French ideals. He hated her cruelty. He often tried to intervene, sparing the condemned and opposing the Tangena ordeal. She saw him as weak and forced him to watch executions, mocking him if he turned away. In the 1850s, French businessman Joseph-François Lambert arrived. He helped crush a rebellion and gained access to the palace. There, he met Laborde and Prince Rakoto. The three drafted the Lambert Charter, granting France economic rights in exchange for support to overthrow Ranavalona. France later used this as a reason for colonization. Lambert left to gather support in Europe, failed, and returned in 1857 to try the coup. But Ranavalona uncovered the plot. Furious, she ordered all foreigners expelled or executed. Lambert escaped. Others weren't so lucky. What followed was a renewed wave of horror. The Queen believed her suspicions had been proven right. Christians were hunted once more. Executions grew more sadistic, yet she didn't kill her son. Perhaps some maternal instinct remained, or perhaps she feared eliminating her heir. In her final years, the horror escalated. Servants were killed for trivial mistakes. One misstep, one dropped tray, and you might be hurled off a cliff. A disliked lady-in-waiting could be buried alive. She reportedly enjoyed lavish feasts during public executions, even commenting on how long victims lasted before dying. She invented death races. Prisoners were forced to run across fields while soldiers chased them with spears. If they reached the finish line, they lived. Most didn't. Her morbid curiosity knew no bounds. Once, she ordered a rhinoceros hunt, despite none existing on the island. When told this, she executed the messengers and sent hunters anyway. Hundreds died searching for a beast that didn't exist. In perhaps her most deranged order, she commanded dead bodies to be exhumed and tied to posts, as if they were laborers. The stench of decay poisoned entire villages. Finally, in August 1861, the Bloody Queen died at the age of 73. Antananarivo fell into eerie silence. People didn't know if they could rejoice. When news spread, quiet celebrations broke out. They say she refused last rites, screaming that demons were coming for her. Her final words? They come with chains of fire. 1,000 souls scream my name. She let out an inhuman shriek and died, her face twisted in terror. Her funeral was extravagant, not out of love, but fear. Priests buried her with amulets designed not to protect her, but to imprison her spirit. Her son Radama II took power. He reversed her policies, opened the country, allowed freedom of religion, ended the Tangena, and embraced diplomacy. But his reforms angered conservatives. After only 18 months, he was strangled in a coup. His mother's legacy of brutality had sunk too deep. Ranavalona's rule remains one of the bloodiest in world history. Some argue she preserved Madagascar's independence, but the price was staggering. In 33 years, she wiped out half the population, shattered the economy, and twisted tradition into terror. Even today, her name is spoken in hushed tones across Madagascar, not out of respect, but fear. Offerings are left at shrines not to honor her, but to appease her spirit. Ranavalona didn't seek greatness. She sought fear, and in that, she succeeded. Her legacy is carved in blood and madness, a queen who didn't just plunge her nation into darkness, but created a darkness all her own, one that still lingers